is Hope at Crafty Hope, and I am here with another art journal. This time I'm using my Bobbsey Twins book that I picked up for free at the library. My library has books that either they can't sell or are damaged or whatever, and they put them out for free, and I grabbed this one, and it's held up really well. I can't even believe how much it's held up with, and I am just I'm going to go ahead and put down a little bit of heavy gesso. This is the Finnabair heavy gesso, and I'm using a palette knife to spread it out just because I didn't know what I was going to do for this page. I wanted to make sure it had some stability. So I get that all down, and then I go, and while it's still wet, you can tell it's still a little shiny. I also grabbed this Finnabair or the Prima modeling paste. So I have got just this chevron type stencil. I don't even know where it's from. Possibly I bought it at Walmart. I don't know. I have no idea where the stencil came from. And I'm just using a palette knife to scrape a couple of these patterns on here, and then I'm moving it over to the other page. Now the title of this video is Art Journal Play because that's all I really wanted to do was play in my art journal, and that's what I did. There was a lot of indecision and I don't know what I'm going to do next with this, and I tried to, in editing, cut some of that out. So hopefully this video isn't too long. I did speed this up also for you, so hopefully it'll, you know, we can get everything. If you have any questions at the end, let me know. Now here I did dry the modeling paste. I cannot remember if I used my heat gun or if I just let it dry. I think I just let it dry because the lights changed there. And I've got these two inks. It's a Bombay ink in cherry red, I think, and then a Liquitex acrylic ink in deep violet. And so I'm just putting them up here at the top of the page, just splooshing it on. Again, I have used sploosh before, and that is absolutely a technical term. So I'm going to spray some water on there, and you can see the two colors kind of be distinctive but then start melding, and here's when everything kind of goes poopsie. Everything went to the very center of this. That was probably absolutely my fault. You can see I'm looking throughout this whole process. I keep checking to make sure it didn't seep through into some of the other pages. I tried to pull it out from the center there with the paintbrush, checking those other pages, and look, that spine there, so covered in ink, but it's okay. This is really pretty. I kind of look at it later and I see a tree. As it develops, you'll see like the tops, the bushes, and then there's, anyway, you see the tree? Now normally I would cut out some of the blow drying here, the heat drying, but because as I'm working with this, I do add some little touches of moving the ink around some, pulling out my paintbrush, doing little things. See here, I'm just going to dump the ink that dripped down there just straight onto the page, whatever. So continuing to dry, I think I'm going to pull out the paintbrush here in a minute and pick up some. I think that's what's kind of great about letting that drip down onto something else you can pick it up off of, because you can move that around and do whatever. So, and that wasn't intentional. Again, this was play, nothing planned. I'm just playing, and that was a huge oopsie that I don't know. I don't know how I let that happen, but it's okay. See, it's okay. So that page is finally dry, and then it's a distress spray, and I think it's like, I don't know, vintage brass or vintage gold or something like that, and it wouldn't spray. I need to clean it out, so I just flicked it onto the page from the stem, and then I don't even know why I grab a bamboo skewer and I am just kind of spreading that out. Now this seems to be, I don't think I intentionally got it where I had put the stenciled modeling paste, but apparently I did. So anyway, but I'm just spreading that out. I guess I just wanted more of an organic feel to it, and I'm playing. This is some art play. I don't know. So once that's on there, I go and grab a little bit of craft paint. I'm not sure what that color is called. It is either Sea Breeze by Americana, or it could be Spa Blue, but I think it's the Sea Breeze by Americana. I'm sitting here by my paints and I pulled that up to take a look at it. So now I'm putting that over on that just piece of like newsprint or scratch paper and working from there. And I've got a pretty thin paintbrush there, and I'm just spreading that out. And I realize I do not like the streakiness at all that the paintbrush is giving me. So I grab some baby wipes and I decide I'm going to use that to help soften the edges of this a bit. And it works beautifully. I love it. And I hardly ever remember to pull out my baby wipes. And when I do, I'm like, why don't I just have these right here all the time? And I always seem to always have them like just out of reach while I'm doing videos or doing anything. So once I get that, I decided I needed a little more down the bottom. This was too, I don't know, a lot of times I'll go from one side of the page to the other with things, and that's kind of what I did. So I decided to make sure I move it down a little there so it's not just left or right. And you can see, and I love that, like, that violet with that Sea Breeze is just yummy. So, and then I've got this graphite pencil. It is just a cheap one. It is water soluble, but it's just a cheap one that at some point, I think I actually got at the dollar store. At one point, the dollar store had a bunch of art supplies, like charcoal pencils and stuff like that. And I picked these up, and I'm so glad I did. I wish I could find them again. Anyway, I am just taking that graphite pencil and rubbing it across where the raised edges are from that stenciling. And then I am, because it is water soluble, I'm then taking that baby wipe and rubbing it across to activate the graphite. I was thinking I would get more, I don't know, texture or definition of that stencil, the modeling paste stencil, but I didn't. So I'm just making a muddy mess here. And yeah, big old muddy mess. So much of that color got lost there. So what I did is I pulled out some, what is that? Gesso. There's the Deco Art Media gesso and a palette knife, and I'm just going to scrape it down. This gives, I don't know, it brings all of that definition in for that texture, and I have to remember to do this. This is what playing is for, because this, I discovered, worked out beautifully. And I made a big old mess there. You'll see on that right page toward the crease, and it was just bugging the fire out of me. And so as I'm spreading over here, I'm really loving how much of that texture is coming up. I hated this scrape, so I took that baby wipe again, and I just kind of scraped it off. Scraped it, blended it off, and add a little more gesso, trying to, make it feel like it was just, I don't know, blended in there. I don't know. I like the cloudy poofiness that I was able to get when I used the baby wipe to wipe it away. And so, like I said, I've got to remember to keep those baby wipes a little more on hand. So and there's more baby wiping stuff away. Look at me go. So once I get all of those, I guess all that gesso down, I am going to, look at that. Isn't that awesome? That muddy mess that was there a minute ago, a little bit of gesso just elevated that whole thing. So I do go in and dry it. I cut this down a little bit so that y'all don't have to see it. And then I grab my black Posca paint pen, and again, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I start making little, like, plus signs, little crosses on this page. Just adding a little something. I don't know, I was afraid I was going to drag my hand through it, so I do grab a little piece of paper to dry it a little bit faster so I can make sure that I don't smear anything, because I am a really accident prone, and I will absolutely put my hand straight in that and smear it all the way across the page, and then I'll have to do it on the other side of the page with the smear to make it look like it's intentional. I totally did that the other day, so I'm not joking. So here I am adding all these little puzzles, and now with the next step, I don't know, maybe it's not the next step. There's a step here coming here in a minute that I take all those little pluses away, kind of. But first I grab a Stabilo Woody in yellow. I wanted some brightness to this page. That metallic is still on there, but it didn't have the happy in it that I kind of wanted with my playing. And yellow always seems very happy. So I grabbed that yellow, and I am just kind of rubbing it again across some of that stenciled modeling paste, and then I'm going to just get a wet paintbrush and activate it a little, since the Stabilo Woodies are water activated. I'm just going to let it, doesn't really add much to it, except it lets me move it around some. So that's all I really did, was moved it around a little bit more. So when that was done, then this is where I don't know. I go in with a white Signo pen, and I'm going straight over on top of all those little plus signs I made in the Posca paint pen. So they're still there. They just have, like, I don't know, it's like white crosses with a shadow behind them. So it's interesting. It's definitely a fun little texture, but I think I thought that the black on there was just too stark, with everything else trying to be like happy and mellow. So I was trying to mellowize it. So, yeah. And I added a little bit more yellow to bring it across the page a little, to make those pages seem a little more joined. I don't know that I was successful in that. It looks like I got it too wet. Now I have this list of different words. I think it's from Tam that does Lifebook, but I can't be sure. I know it was part of the Lifebook thing that was going on in like November. Is that right? What did they call it? I can't think what it was called, but it was like the little free lessons that they did for a limited time. May have been October. Anyway, I found this. It says embrace your unique self. You could easily type that out on your own and print it out. This was just a freebie she had that I printed out. And I couldn't figure out where I wanted to put it. Oh, look, I'm getting a text. And so I put it off to the side while I broke out some Distress Oxide, and I think, I don't know what color that is, if it's Mermaid Lagoon or Peacock Feather or something like that, and then just one of my hand carved stamps. I'm kind of lightly putting in a couple places, and then I'm going to take that same piece of paper I was dabbing other things off with to pick that up a little bit to dry it, because the Distress Oxide seem to take a little bit of time to dry for some reason, and they will absolutely smear if they're not given a minute or two to dry. So I just picked it up a little bit with that piece of paper. No big deal. And so once that was done, I kind of knew what I wanted to do. Well, no, see, I'm still playing with the placement of that. So I decided it's just too big, and I'm going to cut it down, which I don't know why it took me so long to come to that, because it's obvious that that's exactly what needed to be done. So I'm going to cut it down word by word, and then I'm going to lay it out where I think it's going to go. And then I struggle for a bit, because I wanted something on that right side of the page, and I clipped out all of it, but I flipped through a couple things, went through some stamp images, couldn't find anything. Finally dipped into my stash of yearbooks and clipped out the picture of that lady right there, and decided she was a unique self, just like I am. She looks a little, I hate to say a little nerdy, but I'm a little nerdy, and I respect the nerdy. I just praised a friend of mine for her daughter getting nerdy girl gifts for Christmas. She got a microscope and a telescope for Christmas, and I thought that was awesome, because I received both of those for Christmas gifts myself. So go nerdy girls. Anyway, that's anyway, I inked up the edges of both the words and my picture, and it really doesn't matter. I think it helps a little because it got onto the front of those, but in a little while I'm going to use my Stabilo and go around all of these, so it doesn't matter. So I'm just using my Uhu glue stick to glue down both my picture and my words. I do put my, I don't know, gesso or something on top of that picture to make sure there's a little weight to hold it down while I work on gluing down the words. So I'm going to get those all down, and then I'm not sure what I'm fixing to do. I think I just take my Stabilo here, which I have to pull out of my little roll of watercolor pencils because I apparently need to order some more Stabilo alls because I just don't have enough because I've got them in stash all over the place, but not handy by my desk. So, see here, I'm fixing to, I mean, at least I know it was in that roll, and that roll was near my desk. But, yeah, I need to have it a little more handy. There's my little roll of ink tints. So I pull that out, and I'm going to go around my picture, and I'm going to go around my words, and then use I think a paintbrush actually to, oh wait until y'all see this paintbrush. When I was editing this, I got a little embarrassed about my paintbrush. I'm awful with them. I will leave them in water far too long. I'm trying to get better about that. I did just buy myself some really nice, well, I don't know if they're really nice, but some nice for me watercolor paintbrushes, not pencils, paintbrushes, and they I'm trying to keep them out of the water, but yeah, here's this paintbrush. I don't know if y'all can see it, but the paint has just about chipped all away off of that from the water soaking up into that paintbrush, but I like the size of it, and apparently it's well loved. It still works, so I guess that counts for something. I haven't put glue on it and let it dry solid, so anyway, I am axing these with just a little bit of water so that everything stands up off the page, and then I am done. So I've got a couple pictures here to give you a closer look at this fun art journal play, and I hope you like this. If you did, make sure to give me a thumbs up, and please make sure to just subscribe. Alright guys, thanks for coming by and watching. Bye.